let us all do we can to build a better future. First, I want to pull this image up, and let's actually zoom in on it. This is Case Study QB's Twitter account, right? We have used some of his content. He sits through corporate media and uploads certain clips. And as you could see, I'm not logged in on Twitter. And his Twitter page has always been open public. This is the first time ever I have seen his channel get treated like this. And all he posts on his Twitter account is retweets from other politicians or progressive commentators or clips from MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, all that stuff. And this is the kind of thing that has me worried, because now that the Democrats are in charge and are screaming from the rooftop, censorship, and we got to stop Trump. We got to stop the Trump people from yelling. Then why the hell is Case Study QB's page being censored like that? Now, if I log on to Twitter normally, it's not like that. But I've never, ever in my life had to deal when I'm using some of his content where I have to say, okay, well, what sensitive subject it is. He's just posting clips from corporate media. Well, whatever.
With that being said, we have a story now.
Yeah.
Stuff that he's posted on Twitter.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and pull this first video up. The Democrats are in control, folks.
Now, President-elect Joe Biden continues to build out his cabinet ahead of Inauguration Day. Biden on Thursday announced Rhode Island governor and former venture capitalist Gina Raimondo as his choice to become Secretary of Commerce. And Boston Mayor Marty Walsh, a self-described lifelong champion of working people, as his candidate for Labor Secretary. The two are expected to perhaps balance each other out. Raimondo has often been at odds with major labor unions, whereas Walsh, a union member, has seen strong support from the major unions.
Pause that super quickly.
It's only a short video.
I know. I just love that they're like, don't worry, everyone. There's a balance here. One hates unions. One was a part of a union. What more could you ask for?
And look, again, Bernie Sanders did not get his labor secretary position, but I mean, this is like, again, I don't even know what to make of it, but chances are, if you're a labor activist, good luck in getting your voice heard in the Biden administration, because I don't think that guy is going to say a single thing. Let's play this next video, because here you're going to have Republicans being scared that the Democrats are in control. But again, I got to remind you all, the Democrats are in control. That means who knows what's going to happen, because nothing's going to fundamentally change. Play that video.
Bring up some of these people here expected to chair key Senate committees. And there are a number of people on the list, as you can see on the screen right now. Obviously, Bernie Sanders getting a lot of this conversation here. You also have Ron Wyden. Who stands out to you on this list and why?
Well, Sanders, because he's an avowed socialist. Wyden, because he wants to tax capital gains on an annual basis, which means people would have to sell stock every year, and December 31st would be, chaotic. A lot of the stuff that they cook.
Bring up some of these people.
All right. So again, that was a short video.
It might be chaotic one day a year at the stock market.
All right. So,
oh, no.
So look, I do have my opinions about Bernie Sanders still being in the Senate. I mean, I wish he had more political leverage, but then again, what's the point of Bernie being part of the Biden administration if his voice is never going to be heard, no matter what was going to happen, whether Bernie was going to be selected or this guy, the mayor that Biden selected, it doesn't matter, because again, Biden and his administration is basically nothing but corporatists and centrists. So maybe it's a good thing that Bernie Sanders is still in the Senate. The Democrats do have a majority. But here's a clip that Ryan Knight got on CNN, where Bernie Sanders is giving us all a reminder that, remember the last time the Democrats were in control? Let's play that video.
Be very clear, as the incoming chairman of the Senate Budget Committee, I remember what happened in 2010. And that is, the Democrats during the 2008-2010 period controlled the White House, they controlled the Senate, controlled the House. You remember that? Mm-hmm. And you remember what happened in 2010? Democrats got wiped out. They had the power, but they did not deliver for the American people. So what we have got to do right now, no ifs, buts, or maybes, is have an aggressive agenda that says we understand that millions of people, including my neighbors right here in Vermont, people lining up in their cars in order to get emergency food. People can't pay their medical bills. People are going deeper and deeper into debt. People are facing addiction. Millions of people have lost their jobs. We have to act and act now. And the first order of business, by the way, is to pass an emergency COVID-19 bill, which, among many other things, says to working class Americans, we know you're in pain, and we're going to get you a $2,000 check for every working class adult in this country. We are on your side. We are prepared to take on the big money interests who have so much power. We're going to expand healthcare to cover the uninsured. We're going to deal with student debt. We have got to be bold in a way that we have not seen since FDR in the 1930s.
Oh my God. All right, real quick, let's just address a couple of things. Bernie Sanders is correct in speaking these issues and reminding us what happened to the Democrats when they had control of the Senate and House in 2008, 2009, and going to early 2010. And then the Tea Party came in and demolished them. History looks like it's going to repeat itself. Rhyme, maybe, as Daniel likes to say. But look, if the Democrats are not going to do the force the vote, especially and implement Medicare for all, the height of the pandemic, if Biden and his team are saying we can't do student debt forgiveness because it's a big idea and we don't have time for that, if the Democrats are not going to step up against Joe Manchin, who has said he's not going to do the $2,000 stimulus checks, well, then Democrats and all you blue checkmark people and you larger progressive networks, TYT, Majority Report, who are saying, oh, yeah, Democrats are in, we got to beat Trump, and now we got to hold their feet to the fire. If they're not going to listen to us, well, then 2022 will be a slaughter. And it's not going to matter what other people say or do, because if the Democrats don't deliver, well, then they're going to be defeated. It's as simple as that. It's a scientific fact. There's no way to argue against it. If the Democrats are incapable of delivering anything within this year, going into the 2022 midterm election cycle, well, then history will repeat itself and we'll have a divided government, maybe a divided Senate and House. And it's not going to matter if Biden is president, because then nothing will get done. And again, nothing will fundamentally change. And people ask themselves, how did we get Trump in the first place? And remember, Biden and his team are not prosecuting Trump, and the House and Senate are on recess right now until January 20th. So it looks like the Democrats aren't listening, and you would think those 15 progressive congressmen and women would be more vocal about this. But obviously, impeachment's more important. People are starving. People are dying. We need support, and the Democrats are obviously failing in that. Let's play that next video.
But we are still looking at a United States Senate that's now with 2 Democrats from a pretty conservative state. We're going to have about 10 legislators that have all the incentive in the world to strike compromise, to pass moderate legislation, to be seen as people who get things done.
That's right, Joe. And there's going to be a lot of power in the middle of that conference, because it does, as David was talking about, it takes agreement to make anything happen in the U.S. Senate, and any single member can hold things up, can change the dynamic. And that means that if Joe Manchin wants to have a meeting with Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski and some of these other Republicans who have shown a willingness to work with Democrats, that they may actually wield some significant power. And I think with Joe Biden in the White House, you know, this is the kind of environment that he thrived in when he was a member of the Senate. He is still a man of the United States Senate. He always will be, even from the White House. He loves it, and he was there for many years. You know this, Joe, better than anyone else. He, I think, will be willing to watch that process play out. I mean, the last
but it's stupid.
Years at the Capitol have been defined by Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell, 2 people who run the committees that get their guys elected. It has been all-out campaign partisan warfare from the top, dictated from the top. And Chuck Schumer will have to make a decision. Is that how he wants to move forward, or does he want to allow some space for these potential bipartisan agreements to happen? But I have a sense that the White House, that Joe Biden is going to...
Yeah. So I just want to point out, this is exactly, sadly, what I said was going to happen. I think everyone is basically saying the same thing anyway, so it's not really that special. The Democrats lost that race. The conversation would have been, we would have liked to give you guys everything you wanted, but because there's 1 or 2 people in the Senate, we can't. Meanwhile, if they win the 2 seats, their response is going to be, well, we really needed 60 people. Sorry, there's too few people to have us do anything. And what are we seeing on the news as soon as this win has happened by the Democrats. Well, a bunch of them are going to defect. Wasn't that like what you called out all the progressives for just a little bit ago, like the idea of defection? But when it's like conservative Democrats maybe moving over to Republicans, it's fine, reasonable, should happen, good strategy. This is the hypocrisy that we're dealing with. When we try and push a wedge issue because we have the votes, we should, we have like, what, a couple senators and people in the House that are like, I'm slightly, tight thing. I'm slightly Republican. I'm going to force the vote and force a compromise. Why is it that when Republicans have a tiny, slim lead, they don't compromise on anything? In fact, they hold the entirety of the rest of the government down until what they say is asked for. When the Democrats have that same kind of lead, it's, well, this is the best time to compromise. And we know exactly what Democrats compromising with Republicans looks like. It looks like bills worse than Republicans passing themselves.
Yep, and we saw what happened under Bill Clinton's administration, Obama's administration. If the Republicans were in charge, they would be foaming at the mouth if they could do a fraction of what Bill and Obama did during their presidencies. Look, Obama constantly caved to the Republicans. I see Biden doing the same thing. He has worked with Republicans for a very long time in his 40-plus years in politics. So, it's one thing to say, okay, we got rid of the orange bad man, but he's not going anywhere, and the legacy of Trump will still remain. If the Democrats have not learned their lesson, well, then 2022 will be a slaughter for the Democrats, and 2024, either Trump runs again, and maybe he gets reelected, or somebody worse than Trump, probably more competent, gets elected into office. And let's look at what the Democrats are right now proposing. Impeachment, which, again, is stupid to do right now, and they're on recess for January 20th, even though we're not getting our stimulus checks, and we need them. We need continuous stimulus checks. Two, we're seeing the Democrats saying, well, let's also focus on censorship. You think that's going to stop Trump's 70-plus million supporters from coordinating and talking to each other? In fact, that's going to motivate people even further, and especially those who voted for Biden out of fear of another Trump presidency, looking like, no, we got to look at something different. And so what's the solution? What's the final thought for this entire clip? What you see is the Democrats have majority, but nothing will fundamentally change. They're not going to do a damn thing. They haven't learned their lesson, and those who are in power should be more vocal, but they're staying quiet about it. And it's not my fault if they get their butts handed to them. So what's the solution? Right now, the last best hope, moving for People's Party. And so moving for People's Party, if anyone who's part of leadership, Nick Brown or anyone else, the advisory council looking at this, learn from the mistakes of DSA and so many other third-party groups and political organizations. Learn from the mistakes of the Justice Democrats. Because at this point, we are going to need another option, and the people need something. Everyone's right now is politically homeless, and it's quite clear that the Democrats aren't listening, and there's all this fear about Bernie Sanders and him being part of a Senate Judiciary Committee, Budgetary Committee. Guess what? Even if he's part of that committee, if the Democrats still don't bring in real change, it's not going to change anything. And Bernie and the squad be screaming about how we need to vote for them, but if the Democrats don't deliver, why do I need to vote for the Democrats if they're going to do what the Republicans tell them to do?